Hey guys, and welcome to an Inner Space YouTube review video. I know I've not done a lot of these lately, but I've been mainly focusing on my website. As you can see here, it's brand new, innerspace.com. But I know the guys at Noontec wanted me to do a YouTube video on these. And that's mainly what they sent them over for. So these are the Zoro 2 HD. I just checked Amazon.co.uk and they're about £63 right now. Although Amazon says their recommended retail price is £120. So you'll either be getting a great deal or they never really were that expensive. I don't think they ever were. I remember getting a product brochure when I got these through, and I think they're only like $90 in there, so that's about 60 quid. So anyhow, they're a £60 headphone. They're fairly an on-ear design. They pretty much cover my whole ear, but they're not fitting my ear inside. So for that reason, I'd say they're an on-ear headphone. They do have like an imprint of the cushion, so you could try and fit your ear in there, but I don't think anyone's gonna pull that off. So they are an on-ear headphone, and as you can see from their design, they are very much Beats-like in their appearance and in their aesthetics. So and the reason the first Zoro done so well was because everyone said it was sort of had the style of Beats but a much more audiophile quality sound, and I don't know if they've done that by mistake or they really did know what they're doing with the sound tuning, but I never heard that model. And apparently this version keeps the looks, but they've worked even harder to get it to sound good. And listening to this, I think that they might have stumbled across the first one sounding good, if it did it, as everyone said, by a complete fluke, because I'm not been impressed by the sound of these. At the price you can get some great sound nowadays, and these it's left me a bit underwhelmed. I've not really kept up to date with how the new Beats sounds. I know they've got better, but I'm not going to compare these to Beats or anything. And yeah, they're not sounding great to my ears. You get a little carry pouch with them, including the price, and you also get this removable flat cable. So the cable's a pretty standard affair. I don't have any problems with it. It's got the one button mic and remote, so you can use it with Android phones for making calls and stuff. I did find though that when I put this on my reference portable rig, which is way too expensive to use a pair of headphones of this calibre I did find you had to hold the button to get all the sound, otherwise you got everything from the mids and the treble cut out. So it does seem better suited to using with phones, so I would like to point that out. The headphones themselves, we should have a little look at their build and stuff before we go on to talk about their sound a little bit more. But they just feel fairly cheap. I mean, back in the day I had a pair of Beats Solar HD, which these are clearly made after and inspired by. Never similar sort of feeling headband, but the plastic just feels so tacky and cheap with these, and like you can fold these in, but listen to that, it almost feels like they're about to break. It just doesn't inspire that much confidence in them. You can see there's a little bit of metal in there for the slider. I just feel like something did break there, which is not ideal. You can see there's metal used for the slider, and there are ridges so that they can be adjusted to the same each side and stuff like that. But overall the build quality hasn't impressed me a lot. You can get them in a range of colours, which is quite cool. I quite like this blue. There's also a white and orange that I like the look of. And the pads seem pretty standard affair. Synthetic leather, nothing too comfy or impressive. Not that I find them uncomfortable, because they're very light and they don't have a lot of clamping force. Yeah, lastly we'll talk about the sound. I've used these with a range of stuff, all the way from high-end players like the Lotto Pure Gold, all the way to my 1+1 phone. So a range of sources, and if I'm honest, it doesn't really matter what you're using with this with. I mainly used it with my phone because that's sort of the targeted market. Now, I expressed earlier that I was a little bit disappointed with the sound of these. And I don't think that's because they're an awful sounding headphone, because they're not. They're just a lot better at the price. And I think that, combined with the hype surrounding the original version of these, I just expected or maybe wanted a little better sound from these. Now, as I said, they're not awful sounding, and they are actually pretty balanced, but they're just very thin sounding. That's the thing that really stood out and annoyed me, just how thin they sounded. The bass was a little bit boosted, but still seemed weak at the same time because it had no depth to it. It had no sub bass, no rumble. You know, but the mid bass was still a little bit boosted. It just didn't have that visceral impact that I'd like to see from this sort of headphone. Then moving on, you've got the mid range, which slightly favoured the upper mids, making it sound very wispy, and the lower mids were a little bit more recessed. But overall, they weren't miles behind, and the treble seemed rolled off and a little bit subdued. But they weren't a dark headphone at all. So it wasn't a horrific overall sound. It just lacked a bit of coherency, some tightness. It got muddled quite a bit. But the worst part for me was just how claustrophobic I found wearing these. And that's because the soundstage just didn't exist. These they had poor width, but even worse depth, making them a very in-your-head sound. And that is something that's always going to plague closed back headphones, but it's something that can definitely be improved upon. And I've got some closed back headphones that sound very open, great imaging even. They can work around these problems. I just don't think they have here. And in all, I found them very average. They're not a great headphone sound wise. They're not a poor headphone sound wise. And for that reason, if you like the design, they might be one of the more fashionable, okay sounding headphones. But most companies are coming out with very nice looking headphones now. So I don't know if that is enough of a turnaround. Along with the Zoro headphones, Noontec also sent me this little gadget over, which is their powered smart 5-volt sort of USB hub. It's got 5 just USB outs, connects up to the mains. Here are a simple power cable there, look. So it's just up onto a gang plug, and yeah, it just allows me to sort of charge all my gear from it. So I've got my 1+1 charger there. I've got my AK120 charger, and I've got my portable amp charger there, so I can charge all my gear from it, nice and simple, which is really helpful. I use it every day. It's part of my my desk now. I have all my audiophile main stuff and filters underneath my desk, so that's why I've only got that and my camera charger on that gang plug there. But yeah, I don't think it's very expensive, and it's quite a handy little device to have. So yeah, I'll show you that as well because they sent me that through. Cheers for watching. Let me know if you want or would like to see more YouTube videos, especially with this new camera I've just got. If this turns out alright, I probably will try and look at doing a few more YouTube based videos and reviews of products. Let me know, if you see a review I've wrote about of a product, let me know and I can maybe do a video of that product. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you later.